Welcome, everyone. We are excited that you're spending your time here with us on this Demand Science webinar. We're excited. Demand Science is doing some exciting work in the next-gen reporting, analytics, and of course, AI space. And these form part of Demand Science's insights tool set. If you don't know me, my name is Nick Bennett. I'm the co-founder over at TAC. I have been in the Rev Tech marketing space for many, many years and now doing my own thing. But it's not about me today. It's about these two incredible people with me. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a second, but we have Greg and we have Raghu from the Demand Science team. And the time that I've spent with them personally, I have learned so much. So you're in store for a ton of valuable information today. And I'm going to let Greg introduce himself first.
Thanks, Nick. Great to be here. My name's Greg Jordan. I'm the Chief Product Officer over here at DemandScience, oversee product data and engineering. So my sort of job and team is to look at innovative solutions on how we can support marketing professionals to achieve their revenue marketing goals. Going to let Raghu introduce himself now. He heads up our AI and ML initiatives. So over to you, Raghu.
Hi, my name is Raghu, and I've been in Demand Science for about 4 years now. I work closely with Greg, and I had the AI and machine learning. We built a lot of cool products together, so we'll talk more about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. We're going to dive into how did the work on insights begin? Because as a marketer, I find it very, very fascinating. And what I knew Demand Science of, years ago has completely changed the game. And I think for everyone that's listening, you're in for a lot of exciting things. So, Greg, I'll start this with you. What was the original vision and intent behind developing your insights tool set?
Our insights tool originally started as an application called CXR, and it was built predominantly for our CX team because we were getting asked time and time again by more clients to go beyond what is traditional reporting at high levels of job titles and the industries that are engaging in the campaigns that we're executing for our clients. And they wanted to get more actionable insights out of it. So how could we dive deeper into the data that we collect during the campaign to give something meaningful for our clients to make an informed decision on should they adjust their campaign, should they change their content, their audience, should they look at a more omni-channel approach. So the initiative came out of supporting our CX team who were spending hours upon hours trawling through data, trying to pull that data together. And we wanted to give consistency in our reporting as well because we run a lot of global reports and campaigns for clients. We wanted to ensure we could have consistency across all channels and all reporting that we offered to them. And it sort of then snowballed from there. The more we started to work with clients and show them, the more insights they wanted, the deeper they wanted to go. And that's really where Raghu took the charge on this with his team. And I'll let Raghu maybe talk around some of the tech that we've built in behind it.
Taking off from where Greg left, right? We wanted to do a couple of things, but our main intention was to move away from manual research into something like an AI-driven research. So, for example, a lot of clients keep asking questions like, is this the right industry to target? What's the industry outlook in a certain given point in time for a certain region? And we had to do a lot of manual research to look at and read a lot of articles and come up with an outline for the client on whether the target industry is good or not, right? Something like that. So what our idea was to ensure that we convert this research process into an automated research process because AI actually allows us to do that. So that's where, technically speaking, we started converting all these user problems into some sort of a solution from our end. Yep.
I love that. And again, as a marketer, like I can't tell you how much time I've spent on the manual research part of it. It's just, I was hoping AI was going to solve this. And when I think about, this is so fascinating to me, but when you dive a little bit deeper, and Greg, for you, like what specifically were you trying to address when you started to develop this insights tool set?
Where we wanted to get, with traditionally syndication campaigns that we deliver a lot of for our clients is what I would call static. So what I mean by that is we run a campaign over a period of time and then we report back to the client on the outcome. And it's at that stage that we tell them what worked well and what didn't. I wanted to have reporting that could be more dynamic in real time so we could proactively get ahead of campaign performance. So we could adjust it mid-flight to ensure we get better optimization Therefore, we're going to get better engagement and we're going to get better outcomes for our clients. When we looked at AI, my biggest concern when we embarked on this was it's garbage in, garbage out. We had to take a very methodical and structured approach of what data we fed into the AI models, how we then interpret that data, and then what we surface to our clients that's accurate and meaningful to them. But the overall vision is I wanted to get first in market where we can give dynamic, real-time reporting to our clients so we can strategically optimize their campaign mid-campaign, basically.
I love that. It's so interesting. And Raghu, I want to dive into this a little bit more with you. So I assume a lot of marketers spent a lot of time on reporting and dashboards. I know I have, like, probably way more than I should have. And like at the time, when you don't have a marketing ops or a sales ops person, like I was in field marketing and event marketing for many, many years, and I had to do a lot of this myself, and it took away from so much of the other stuff that I needed to do. But when you think about all that time spent on that, what are they still missing? What are the biggest limitations of what lots of folks might have today?
Yeah, I can think of 2 to 3 challenges in our experience, right? The biggest problem is like what Greg mentioned. It's the siloed data problem. Now, it's very difficult to unify data from multiple sources and create one actionable view. I mean, in conventional reporting, what happens is you organize data from multiple sources, but there you need to first understand what is the metrics that you're going to report on, and then build your intelligence layer. This is the traditional way of doing the dashboards and intelligence. Now, what happens in this case is if, let's say, your metrics change for some reason, obviously it will change. Your data model need to change, your integration pipeline need to change, and that's a lot of overhead, right? So that's one problem that we normally encounter. The other thing that Greg already mentioned was the static versus the dynamic reporting. I mean, traditionally, we have been doing a form of descriptive reporting, which gives you, it's been prevalent in the market for decades now. It captures the metrics at a point, and then once it is generated, it remains there. It does not take into account the rapidly changing market conditions. So that's the other part, which Greg already mentioned. But then there is one thing that I can highlight here, which is the lack of prescriptive guidance. Right? Even the most sophisticated dashboards will probably not tell you what to do next. You will see a lot of dashboards that tell you, for example, what are your top 5 customers that are responding well. But then there's no way that you can prescribe and say, hey, here are the other companies that are similar to these top 5 trending companies, and why don't you go ahead and target them and create a follow-up plan for that. Now, these nuances are really missing in current dashboards.
I love that. Greg, what about you? Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, so Raghu's touched on sort of where we're going, or where we are today with insights, and where we're going moving forward is traditional reporting is based on just the data points you capture during that campaign. And as I said, they're very static data points. So they're great, but you're looking at reporting in a vacuum. What we wanted to feed in was outside intelligence, so what we're seeing in the market from market news feeds. But we have a rich data set of DemandScience, from technographic to firmographic to intent, plus what we execute across all our campaigns. Yes, that data is anonymized, but it allows us to gather some really interesting insights. So what content is trending in what types of industries, across what types of personas, and in different geographies as well. So by bringing all that data together, we can give a proactive recommendation of where they should optimize the campaign. Because the problem is, by working on just the individual campaign data only, you're restricted. So we wanted to open that up. So what we've created at DemandScience is some very specialist language models, small language models, so to speak, that are trained on very specific sets of data. And that when we then piece them together, can give us a very strong recommendation to our clients that we know will improve that campaign performance. So that was the big thing, was how do we first bring optimized reporting from a time process? How do we interpret data? The biggest challenge a lot of companies face, and we face this at DemandScience, is everyone has different skill sets. Some people really know how to manipulate data. We have a team of data research analysts and scientists, but then you have different level of CX and sales professionals as well. So what we wanted to make sure is if we can train the models in the right way, we are effectively having a data analyst and scientist review that campaign data every time, spit that out that the CX can then interpret to pass to our clients. So it was really to be able to know what to look for in the data. That's the hardest thing, I think, in campaign reporting. You get the high level numbers, but what does that mean to you? You get the top 10 job titles, you get the top 10 performing assets. But what do you then do with that information? Do you just tick a box to say, okay, that's validated my assumptions? Or do you want something meaningful that's saying, okay, this is working, but if I do A and B, that campaign performance is going to increase and I'm going to get a better outcome? So that's what we've been looking to achieve with our insights tool here, DemandScience.
I love that. And, again, as someone that talks to a lot of marketers, like it's great to be able to see lookalike companies, and that's awesome. But how do you actually optimize for that and on a campaign, an individual stage campaign basis? And I feel like that's the piece that's been missing for so long. And a lot of times marketers are backwards looking when it comes to reporting. They're in that report and apologize mode. And I feel like there has to be a way to overcome that. And Greg, I think that's, I feel like without real-time insights, you can't do this. And I'm curious on your thoughts here.
No, you're dead right. I think that is the fundamental flaw in marketing today, is everything is reactive instead of proactive. And the only way you can make proactive recommendations is in real time, getting those insights first, getting them early to then make that decision, make that informed decision on what you should do. So the challenge with real time, as you know, is then when you collect that data from multiple sources. So we've spent a lot of investment and time over the past couple of years at DemandScience building that orchestration layer where we can bring those, the clicks, the opens, the engagements, the downloads, all that data to one central place. Then we can feed that up into the brain then that sits under insights that Raghu's been working on. Then we can report out, and we can do that. We say real time. It's sort of hourly at this stage, and we're optimizing further, which is absolutely fine. If you think of traditional reporting on syndication, it's done quarterly or monthly. So the fact we can get these insights, and what's important is cross-channel insights at that regular cadence really does allow us to, take that next best action for our client to ensure we maximize that sort of spend for them.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about hourly. I would even take weekly or bi-weekly, hourly, like you've already blown my mind. Like I don't even need real time. I just need something better than monthly. So definitely love that. But, Raghu, I'm curious, how has the influx of marketing data made reporting more difficult rather than easier in your mind?
Yeah, typically what happens is you have a lot of data. So there's a need to collect data, and we go on an overdrive actually to collect a lot of data. We keep enriching the data. What happens is, and this is exactly going back to what Greg mentioned, over a time scale, some of these data get stale. But we have no option but to report on it, either report on it or just leave the data as it is, and creates a huge pile of data, which is not very useful. It creates a lot of noise. So the implication of all of this is that the dynamic signals, when you look at the signal to noise ratio, the signals are lost and the noises are showing up everywhere. So that's one of the big things that happens. And what we want to do is, instead, the quantity is not the issue here, it's the quality of data. And that's where we go ahead and make sure that we get only what is needed and we get it as it is happening in the real world.
Love that.
That would be our approach.
Yeah, that's makes complete sense. And Greg, for you, like in my mind, more data does not mean better insights. And I'm curious, like if you could expand on that, because I know
totally. And I think that's the key point, is people are drowning in data right now. There's so much of it. Where it becomes tricky is when you take those data from multiple sources. When we do the orchestration, not only are we reporting on display and social channels through email, we then got clients' own CRM data. Everyone slightly has a different industry classification. Job titles are formatted differently. Country codes are formatted differently. So there's a lot of work we do to standardize and normalize the data before we report on it. But that's the whole premise of what we've developed the insights for, is to sift through that sea of data and just surface to the top what's actually meaningful to the client. Because that you can go through report after report. All the platforms out there today, is just dashboard after dashboard. You need to go through an onboarding course with a lot of people in market today to understand how to drive the dashboard. You pick that up, and then you've got to figure out how do we interpret the data that's coming out of the dashboard. That's what we want to do for our clients, is we want to do all that heavy lifting. We want to be able to put a report in front of them, whether it be through a PDF or PowerPoint or through a centralized online platform that gives them the data they care about, that allows them to see what's working, what's not, where they can improve. So they always, what is always top of mind for them is their marketing money going where they need it to go? Is it going towards the desired outcome they're trying to achieve? And that's really what Insights is all about.
Love that. All right. I think it's time to get into some detail. Let's dive deep. And, Raghu, I'm gonna throw it over to you. But what do you guys have up your sleeve? What's in the toolkit?
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack, right? I mean, if you look at under the hood, what's happening? But I would briefly touch upon, there are 4 layers, and I'll go through that one by one. First is the data enrichment layer. Now here, I think there is some merit in even looking at static data enrichment, because, there are certain data points that do not change as frequently as some others. So what we do there in the data enrichment layer is we have a foundational data layer, and we take up certain data points. For example, let's say we have the job title. Greg mentioned about it. What we do is not just look at the job title, we start enriching the job title based on our models. And we can derive a lot of information from there. For example, we know what's the job seniority, department, area. We can tell whether they are subject matter experts, they are business experts, whether they are influencers, decision makers, practitioners. Sometimes even clients ask us, we had a case where one of the clients asked us to segment and tell us who are the strategists and who are the innovators. So all these are the enrichment points that we actually do a lot of work and build this, because this is going to stay for some time. That's the data layer. And then we move on to the predictive analytics layer. Here we have our models which actually tell what's happening and why it's happening. There are certain hidden patterns based on historical data. And it can tell you not just, which industry is trending, but it can tell you what combination of industry, topic, and job persona is actually trending. So it can go to that level of detail and give you certain analytics there. That's overlaid. These two are overlaid by the AI-driven insights, which is fully real-time mechanism, right? So here, let's say you're running a campaign on IT ops. Let's say that's your topic of campaign. Now, you might have missed creating a target account while setting up the campaign, because that was not trending at that point in time. But we sense that signal. Let's say when you're right in the middle of the campaign, you see that there is a certain intent for that topic. We could include that account into the mix because of this AI-driven real-time insights. And then finally, we have the reporting layer. And this is the cool part, right? Because the reporting layer is more of a natural language Q&A format. So like Greg mentioned, you don't want to go through jargons and stuff like that. What you need is an analysis which is easy to understand. Ask a question in natural language. We give out the response in a narrative style along with visuals and charts. So that explains the data. It does not give you just a dashboard. So there are 4 layers, like I said: data enrichment, predictive analytics, AI analytics, and then we have the reporting layer. Yeah, so that's how it would go.
I love that. It's very, very, very interesting. And Greg, anything that you want to touch on as well that maybe Raghu,
Yeah. I suppose it's the why behind why we've done a lot of this stuff with Insights and what Raghu's talking around. And he touched on one client in particular, but we've had several use cases where clients have come to us with AI is a good example of this. And I talk about AI when we work with a lot of large technology vendors who are all integrating AI into their solutions or coming to market with an AI type product, service, or solution. And that's moved the goalposts from traditional targeting, because AI has made applications more accessible to different job roles where they were very singular and focused for a specific type of job role. They now open up where people that don't necessarily have design skills can do more with leveraging AI. if you look at, say, Figma as an example, with the AI toolkit they've built in, people that don't have a design background can now create wireframes and images. So what we wanted to do was, we got asked the question initially by one of the clients is, who's the buyer of Gen AI? And I'm like, well, that's such a big question. We need to be more specific, because take someone who wants to buy Midjourney or Gemini Code Review, two very different users. And that's where we saw a really good opportunity, and something we've been working on is what we call a product to buyer model. And that's where we can put in a product, service and solution, and we can start to tell them who the buying committee is for that product. Now that's very important, because if I look at traditional clients we serve today, they come with a set of accounts and they come with a set of job titles. And those job titles are usually based on what they have in their CRM today, i.e. what has bought from them before. When it comes to the buying journey in B2B, and Gartner has done the map of the buying journey that's so complex and so many people involved, is it is a committee. So what we're trying to say is, you need to be in front of that entire buying committee. And the thing with the buying committee, it's different levels, from practitioner to end user, from decision maker to influencer. And the content that is going to resonate with each one of those personas is very different. So if you take a traditional content syndication campaign where you do a white paper, that would be very relevant to an end user or a practitioner that is more engineering focused, because they will read through that. If they are someone a CFO or in finance that is tasked with allocating budget, they really just want to see quickly that this type of solution is going to bring them 30 to 40% cost savings, because it means they can bring their costs down, or it's going to improve team performance. So a CTO may see something like Gemini Code Review and say, okay, well, it's going to bring costs down, but it's also going to improve team performance by X%. So what we wanted to be able to do was tell them who is the people they should be targeting, not just at the company level. So if I break this down into stages, the way I look at a campaign, data is the heart of it. It's the foundation. So if you don't get the data right, your campaign's going to fail. So let's start at targeting. Who is the company? We can go deep into a company and look at the makeup and construction of that company, from what technology they're using, so from technographic data, what are they actively researching online, what is top of mind for that company, and we can leverage intent data on both the first, second and third party level. Then we can start to look at what I call the human capital of the company. So what is the workforce made up of? And I use this as an example. If we have a product such as AWS SageMaker that is predominantly there to serve machine learning data scientists as they build a type of AI ML application, if they don't have anyone in that workforce that is AI ML or data science background, would that be a good target? You can then look at job openings data that we surface. Are they actively recruiting for a specific type of skill set that infers the journey they are going on as a company? Once you start to piece all these pieces of information together, you get a complete picture of the company. You can then take that into, okay, what are the personas we want to target in a buying committee? And then you can really personalize the content to make it hyper relevant to each persona. Because the problem is, you talk around personalization today, people think that's dear Nick I see you work at DemandScience, and they go through that process. That's not personalized. Personalization is about having relevance and context to that individual. So we want to try and when we come to the insights and recommendations, we break it down. We want to give them enough information so if I'm reaching out, I can make sure that content is hyper relevant to you in the job role at the company and the problem you're trying to solve for that company.
I love that. It's really well said. And I think it brings me to kind of my next point, because it's like, people love real world use cases. They love, like, all right, great. I'm on board with everything that both of you have said so far. Raghu, who would most benefit from this tool?
I think the application of this is quite wide, but I think the biggest impact would come from the customer success managers, right? Now, what they can do is they can not only track the engagement metrics, but they can also now correlate in a real-time basis additional data points like, technographics. It could be intent, it could be changes in the job profiles and so on. Now, what this gives them is a way to have a meaningful conversations with their customers, because now they're not just telling them what has happened. but they are also giving them some reasons behind what is happening. But there are obviously the other personas also find it very useful. For example, the CMOs, the VPs, ABM team, what they're getting is a data-driven insight. It's data-driven. That's the key here. It's not just some predictive analytics that is coming out of a black box model. So we explain to them why certain thing is recommended. And then, of course, the marketeers, right? I mean, for them, the main thing is to personalize the outreach. And here, personalization would probably mean to get a precise audience mix, as Greg was explaining just now. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, you know us marketers, we love a story. Can you tell us, about any real world benefits that you've seen so far?
Yeah, so a couple of, just to tie off Raghu's part, is who the buyer is. That's the challenge thing, because it fits for everyone. I think anyone that is looking to do any type of performance marketing, a CMO that is looking to figure out what their strategy and plan is going to market. The biggest task we have today is everyone in the market is tasked with doing more with less. So they're going to make the marketing dollars go further. And it's where they then place those bets to get the best outcome. What we want to do is, like say, give that information right to the top so they can say, okay, I'm going to invest in these companies. I'm going to make sure the messaging is hyper relevant. And then hopefully that will improve engagement. In regards to use cases, there's several. Like I said, where we've seen a big opportunity for us at DemandScience is people that are promoting an AI type of product, because the targeting is completely new to them. So where we've had clients that have come in with their traditional, here's a target account list, here's a set of job titles. And what we managed to do is increase the target account list of the one company by 75%, because we unsurfaced a lot of accounts they hadn't even thought of. And you can do that by multiple ways. Technographics a prime example. Now, look, and it has two advantages. It can be a displacement or it can be a retention play. So we can go in and say, okay, who's a company that is using a competitive solution that I have a USP against? That's one. Who are then up for renewal in the next 6, 9 or 12 months? Who are actively researching the problem that my product, service or solution can solve in market? So we've done what we've done for one client in particular that I mentioned, with increasing the towel list by 75%. We increased the job titles. Job titles is a unique one in market, as we see every company now is giving everyone a unique title. There's no sort of really standardization. In our database alone, I may get this wrong, the data team kill me for this, but it's either 1 in 6 or 1 in 8 titles in our complete universe is totally unique. So it allows us to bring we've got some tooling that brings every variation of that job title in. And why that becomes important, it expands the reach for our clients. So what we saw again in the uplift in leads generated, not only did we increase the TAL by 75%, but we saw the campaign engagement and leads we generated go up by 35%. So it was a big lift.
It's amazing. Wow, it's really, really impactful. And I was just recently at a marketing conference, and you wouldn't believe how many companies are, they're talking about AI. I feel like everyone's like their slogan or on their booths, it was like, AI driven this. But like, Raghu, for you, like, when we look forward a little bit, how do you see AI evolving in campaign analytics, say, over the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, okay. That's a very interesting discussion now, right? So let's look at B2B marketing, and we will actually learn a lot from B2C, because in B2C is a very different and comparatively mature domain. So how will it impact B2B? I think there are 2 or 3 areas where there is a direct impact. And the first one is no doubt optimization, actually. So what I mean by optimization, so let's take an example. You have a content. You can actually look at the content, extract the keywords from there, have a nice way of classifying that into a topic. And then you can look at the trend, how the topic is going as a single thread. Now that's all done today. But take an example from B2C, right? Let's say I'm a consumer. I go to an e-commerce site or even a retail store. I add egg and milk in my basket. pretty much everybody knows the next thing that probably I will add is a cereal, right? So that's because they have a very good market basket analysis. We want to use that same concept in B2B and say, okay, here's a topic that's trending, but what is the other topic that's correlated with this based on our data? And then what does it mean? So it can be actually two very different topics. For example, we could have something on cybersecurity, which is correlated with, say, career exploration. I mean, very two distinct topics, but it keeps co-occurring in several articles and articles. What does that mean? This is what AI is going to unearth, actually. It will not only just find out that there is a relation between the two, it will also tell what other topics are going to be trending if these two are together. It will also go on and tell which industry is it very relevant to. For example, in this case, it could be legal, could be education. The topics, the other trending topic would be security certification and so on, right? So this is the new world of optimization that we will see in AI. And then the other things that I feel is the buyer stage analysis. This we do, everybody does that. But what's going to happen is the point of analysis is going to go very close to the real world event. Right now, there is a lag. So you have an event happening. There is a lag of a week. That's when you sense your signal. And then you, by that time, you don't know what would have happened by the time you're reporting it. How close you get this together is the key, which is what AI is probably doing. And then obviously there's a decision intelligence layer that will improve a lot with this. Those are 2 or 3 things that I can think of.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if we move that pace, like I'm excited for that. Now, Greg, like for you in demand science, when you think about all of everything that we've talked about, can you say what's next for your insights tool? Can you give a little bit of a sneak peek or?
Yeah, definitely. So the vision that we're going with at Demand Science is to take. There's an inflection point in the market right now, and our viewpoint, we feel marketers should be more focused on building the brand and the strategy, not being tech troubleshooters. And by that, what we're seeing in market is everyone is burdened with technology. They're burdened with platforms. So what I see our strategy is we want to take care of all of that for them. We've got the tech, we've got the data, and we've got the people. We want to surface the intelligence right to the top so they can use that to drive their outcomes. AI, I see, is being able to, when you talked around how it could support sort of campaign analytics, I think it sets everything from both the strategy to the audience selection to the channel mix to the content. We want to just keep refining and working our AI models. We want to add more and more data into that. We want to make it more actionable. We want to empower marketing professionals to just be able to focus on what matters to them, like say, rather than trying to spend hours deciphering data, figuring out new platforms. One thing that comes up quite a lot with AI, and we're seeing a lot of people, everyone's jumping on the AI bandwagon. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not going to say we now just have AI. And the problem with how people are using it, in my opinion, is the AI they're actually implementing brings the benefit to them as a company, not the client. So you give people that go out there and say, oh, we now have this agent that does A, B, and C. All that is done is made that company more efficient internally. That benefit doesn't get passed on to the client. We're investing in AI to be able to do the heavy lifting and give what's meaningful to the client. So we are taking a tech-enabled services approach. I see AI as being empowering to marketing professionals. There's a lot of, I think, skepticism in market that AI is now going to replace people that do marketing. I don't see that at all. I think it empowers them further. We want to ensure anything we work from an AI and machine learning perspective empowers marketers, further and further. So that's what we're trying to do, is take the manual work out, the guesswork out for marketers, so they can focus on doing what they're there to do and build brand and drive revenue.
Love that. And you brought up an interesting point that I think so many companies forget about, is the piece of passing it on to the customer, the value. And I mean, I can't tell you how many vendors I've worked with in the past where, they talk a big game about everything that they're building, but as a consumer of their product, like I didn't actually get any of the value of everything that they were building behind the scenes. And what you're saying and what you guys are building actually does do that. So for anyone that's listening, we're about to wrap up. We're going to get into our final question here. But if you take away one thing, it's you're going to get value as the consumer with this product. And I can't stress that enough, because in today's market where, like you said, everyone is tasked with doing more with less, that is a huge impact for marketers today. So it's been insightful. I've learned a ton today, and I want to ask one final question to both of you. And Greg, I'll start with you. If you wanted marketers to leave today's webinar remembering just one thing about your insights tool, what would it be?
Outcomes. The reason we've created this is to deliver meaningful outcomes to our clients. We're not here to build technology just to put a label on it to say we're AI driven. Quite the opposite. What we want to do is our insights tool is to empower them to reach their revenue marketing goals.
Love that. Raghu, what about you?
Yeah, I would say that I would exactly say what Greg said in a different way, that this is possible because AI and the technology today supports that. The drivers behind all this is the AI. And in today's world, it is possible. We should take that opportunity to do that, and we are doing that. Yeah.
Love that. Well, I just want to thank you both for taking the time to talk with me today. I want to thank everyone that's been listening to this. You could have spent your time anywhere. You spent it with us. We're incredibly grateful for that piece of it. And if you want to connect with Greg or Raghu, they're on LinkedIn. Reach out to them. They're incredibly friendly people. They will answer all of your questions. But if you want to dive even deeper, visit DemandScience.com. And in the top right of the page, you will see a Talk to Us page. Click that. You'll be able to connect with someone. It will be amazing. And again, thank you to everyone that spent time with us today. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.